Behind me is a giant mushroom forest, but I didn't build this forest by hand, and I'm not using any mods or add-ons. I made this forest using just a few command blocks, which let me spawn these giant mushrooms with just a spawn egg, each one with their own uniquely random seed. So if you want to see how I made this, then stick around. Now creating this spawn egg was super fun, and using it to decorate your bases is even funner. But before we get into that, I want to go through how you can get this in your world and how it works. And I'm going to be showing you how you can get this in your world with the structure that you can find in the description below. And while you're in the description, remember to hit the subscribe button, because at 1,000 subscribers, I'm doing a FICO credit score reveal, and I know you wouldn't want to miss that. Anyways, to get this in your world, you're going to need a structure block, which you can get using this command. And then you can place it anywhere in your world. For example, I'm going to do it right here. You'll get this box, and then you'll come in here to the save. You'll switch it to load right there, click import, and you'll find the file on your computer. Once you have it loaded in, you'll just click this load button, and it'll put that structure into your world. You'll be left with this. So I'm in a super flat world to break this down for you. And as you can see, we have 6 strings of command blocks and a weird tower of reinforced deep slate. And before we get into this weird tower, I'm going to start with real simple, the startup command blocks. Now you'll see a line like this in almost any of my command block creations, and really all it is it's setting things like the game rule, the scoreboards, and the ticking areas. When you press the button, you'll get all that chat messages, and then you'll get that final message saying startup successful. As long as you get that final message, everything will work and you're ready to start. Now we'll flip this lever to turn the command blocks on, and then we'll get into each row individually. Starting with this first row of command blocks, these command blocks are solely responsible for testing for this spawn egg, and then placing an armor stand where that spawn egg is. This armor stand will be given a specific tag that lets us work with it later. Now to the second row of command blocks, this row is responsible for giving scoreboard values to this armor stand that we just spawned. So as you'll see, when we use this spawn egg with both of those command blocks on, it won't look very different from when we just had the first one on. However, if we use this command, you'll see here, there have been 4 objectives that have been added to this armor stand. Rand 1 through Rand 4, this is just short for random, and they're dummy variables. And they'll all be given random values. Right now it's 3, 3, 2, 1, and we'll get to what each of these values contributes to later. Now we're going to move on to that really long line of command blocks. This is where almost all the generation happens. So now with that turned on, I'm going to place the spawn egg again, and you'll see we get a stem with an armor stand at the top. And I'm going to place down a couple of these so that you can get an idea for what's going on here. And with those 5 spawned, you're going to start to see the random seeds that we were talking about. Now to help break down how the randomness works, I've broken out the wool and I've tried to create a little diagram that hopefully makes sense to people. The lime wool is where you spawn the spawn egg, and this is where everything will start. Followed by this, one of the random variables will determine where this 2-block stem will go, another where this 1-block stem will go to give some base to the stem at the bottom. You'll see in this variant, they're adjacent to each other. However, in this one, they were overlapping, which means that there's only going to be one base at the bottom. It would look something like this if we were to put it into our wool diagram. Moving on, once you've put the base down, the third variable is going to be determining how tall your mushroom is going to be. In this variant, it's going to be 5 tall followed by 4 tall. And that final variable is for determining which direction your mushroom is going to lean. As you can see, these 2 lean to the right. However, this one leads towards me, and this one over here leans away from me. Now this final row of command blocks is for generating the cap on your mushroom. But before we get into that, we're going to have to first talk about this pile of reinforced deep slate. As you might have guessed, this reinforced deep slate is just a stencil that we use to create the mushroom cap. And it's made out of reinforced deep slate just because I didn't even know this block was in the game, and so I assumed nobody was going to be building out of it and it wouldn't really mess with anybody's builds. And again, before we get into that last row of command blocks, you need to talk about this lone command block that you need to push at startup. This is a clone command, which just clones this structure into these specific coordinates in your world. Right there in this super flat world. And it's built this way because I did not use relative coordinates, and it's just absolute coordinates. It's a little bit poor planning on my part, but if it works, right? Now firing up that final row of command blocks, we're gonna place 1 mushroom spawn egg, and you're gonna see what we get. A full mushroom. And how this works is it will create the stem like we talked about, and then it will clone one of these caps on the top of your mushroom. And which cap you get is determined by what size your mushroom is, so the height of it. The structure doesn't really go in order here. It goes like the second biggest to the smallest to the second smallest to the biggest. Again, just poor planning. Now if we come around here and we spawn a couple of these, you're gonna see we get the variance both in the height, the stem, the base, and the color of our caps. And so you'll see right now it just picks between the red and the brown, and that's just filling these caps with either a brown mushroom or a red mushroom. However, when I was creating this, I did hope to make more than just red and brown mushroom variants. So it is coded in here at the very end, the score color command. It's a value between 1 and 2, 1 being red, 2 being brown. However, it can go up to 6 is included. And you'll see why in a minute here I didn't leave this as the default. There, so I've gone ahead and I've spawned in a couple mushrooms, and you'll see they have all sorts of color. We've got a green, we've got the original red, we've got this deep red, the brown, and even lighter brown, and a blue even. And all in all, I don't dislike these necessarily, but they don't go together well. Now it's for this reason I decided to limit it to just the red and the brown, as I think these two look the best. If you do want to experiment with these other colors, you'll just want to come to this command block with the score color tag and change this from 1 to 2 to 1 to 6. I'm going to set it back for now though, because I think the colors just don't work. And to go along with that, this final row of command blocks, half of it is just responsible for adding these extra colors. And so you'll see the numbers are labeled. So if you want to come in here and change the values so that 3 is, instead of being the warped fungus, it's whatever block you want, feel free to do this and experiment. Let me know if you find any mushrooms that actually work well together, because I think it's a cool idea to have more than just 2 colors. Now to show you guys why I made a giant mushroom generator, I've created a nice dirt hut behind me. And I like to think I'm at least an okay builder. And this dirt hut isn't necessarily bad. However, it's very out of place and it's very plain right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spawn some giant mushroom forests around this build and show you just how much you can add. And there you go. Take a look at all the life that was brought into this build just by the mushroom forest around it. And this is the whole reason I made this machine, because I love building in Minecraft. But your bases just look so out of place without vegetation and terrascaping around it. But I really just don't want to do that part of the building. Instead, I'd much rather make these command creations, which allow me to create this same ambiance in a fraction of the time. Now, I had a lot of fun creating this for you guys, and I really enjoy using it. So if you want to try this for yourself, then check out the download in the description below. And if you enjoy this kind of content, then please drop a like, because it helps me out, and consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How many pickled peppers? How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?